Welcome to Southampton on a Sunday afternoon in 2010 for a cruise to St Petersburg on the P&O ship Arcadia. Quite how they offload 2,000 passengers and all their luggage, completely re-provision the ship for 2 weeks at sea, and then take on another 2,000 new passengers in 8 hours is a miracle of planning, but it worked perfectly. They even laid on a Scottish pipe band for our departure, which was much appreciated. As we made our way up the North Sea, it's a chance to explore the ship. There's a several hundred seat theatre which puts on 2 shows a night, an upper and lower dining room, which each have 2 sittings to coincide with the 2 theatre shows. To keep fit, you could also visit the gym for a workout or just walk round the deck, which is cheaper and more popular. There's also a map to compare the distances between ports en route, the whole cruise being just under 3,000 nautical miles.
Leader deck, deck 9.
If you're an early riser, you can have the breakfast restaurant virtually to yourself. After that, it's a great time to check out the 2 swimming pools, fore and aft, and the various bars and lounges dotted around the ship. After walking out on deck this morning, they'd even laid on a perfectly timed photo opportunity. At the time of her construction, the Queen Mary II, with a gross tonnage of 148,000 tonnes, was the largest cruise ship ever built.
Before going ashore today, please be aware that we have established a secure zone around Arcadia, and our security procedures require that you must be prepared to show your cruise card to enter this zone. Also, in addition to that, to show your security card to the security staff at the gangway when leaving boarding the ship. When boarding, the security staff will search your hand baggage, and we request you do not carry on any parcels or baggage for the benefit of a stranger.
pleasant walk round local sites discovers the usual souvenir shops and restaurants, and water everywhere. In some ways, you're reminded of Venice, but with cars as well. It was on this visit that I discovered the Little Mermaid in Hans Andersen's fairy tale also had a bigger sister. As St Petersburg in Russia is the highlight of this trip, it's no surprise Russian lacquer boxes are for sale in the shop. These miraculous miniature masterpieces mostly feature animals and fairy tales. The papier-mâché boxes are minutely painted with many layers including gold and silver, and some are even inlaid with mother of pearl. Each box is individually hand-painted, so no two are the same, and the boxes are dried in the kiln numerous times during the painting process. They can take weeks to produce, before finally being varnished and polished. It's no surprise that given this complexity, some of these boxes are extremely expensive. The previous night, the captain had announced that the cruise into Stockholm harbour was well worth getting out of bed for. He was right. It was a magical experience. As the world woke up, we drifted silently by private waterside properties. It must be strange to open your curtains at 5 a.m. and see an 80,000-ton liner silently floating past your back garden. I couldn't believe that only a handful of us were watching this memorable daybreak, and nearly 2,000 others were still in bed and missing this magical spectacle. The early bird certainly catches the worm. It's ironic. The first thing we did after getting off the Arcadia is to get on another smaller boat for a cruise around the harbour, canals and various waterways in Stockholm. The city was founded in 1252 and is home to some of Europe's top-ranking universities. It hosts the Nobel ceremony annually and is the political and economic centre. The capital of Sweden has 14 islands and 50 bridges and is situated on an extensive Baltic Sea archipelago. We even managed to run into a local military parade which set all the cameras clicking. I can't help thinking that if commuting to work in London was anything like this, a lot of people would be a lot happier. On Saturday morning, we arrived at the port of St Petersburg, founded in 1703 by Tsar Peter the Great. The city is historically and culturally associated with the birth of the Russian Empire. The Old Winter Palace is now the home of the Hermitage Museum, one of the largest art museums in the world. We were welcomed by Russia's version of Kelly Ball and his jazzmen. I wondered where he'd gone.
Oh, you want the car on?
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So my name is Elena. I'm going to be with the first group. My colleague's name is Ksenia. She's going to be with the second group. But the most important member of our team is the driver, of course. So let me welcome you in our wonderful city, in our country, as I can guess is the first city and maybe the only one which you will see in Russia during this trip. So I think it's a good choice to start to see the country from our city. On our way, we are going to see some parts of the city and we'll come to the city center, which is not very far from here, in fact.
The Hermitage Museum was a former residence of Russian emperors. Founded in 1764 by Empress Catherine the Great, it now houses over 3 million items. In 1917, Lenin and the rebels were joined by the army, and succeeded in storming the Winter Palace and ultimately overthrowing the imperial government. Tsar Nicholas was forced to abdicate, and a Bolshevik government was formed. We were lucky to actually catch sight of Peter the Great himself, but were only allowed to take his picture after a few rubles had exchanged hands. On Saturday evening, we had the option of a visit to the ballet or a trip to see a folk evening, which we thought might give a better flavour of the Russian character. This featured musicians and dancers, and someone with a piercing whistle. The church on the spilled blood was erected on the site where Alexander II was assassinated in 1881. It's a remarkable church. I've seen Roman mosaics before, but nothing on a par with this. Inside the church, there are no paintings anywhere. The entire surface is covered by mosaic. The gold tower on the cathedral is over 400 feet high. The St Nicholas and St Paul Cathedral houses most of Russia's Tsars, including the last. Nicholas II, his wife and children were murdered in 1918 by the Bolsheviks. St Petersburg, formerly known as Leningrad, has long been referred to as the Venice of the North, and a tour of the canals and waterways is a must for tourists. There are some 8,000 architectural monuments in the city. During the Second World War, the Germans laid siege to the city for 2.5 years, during which over 1 million died, mainly from starvation. Back at the ship, Kenny Ball serenaded our departure. "2 days looking around the city barely scratched the surface of what St Petersburg has to offer. But even so, it provided memories for a lifetime."